a short introduction of myself. My name is Paddy Tan, 49 years old this year. Thanks to the Zoom filter, I probably look a bit younger. Okay, but that's only the filter. Okay, I'm actually a serial entrepreneur. I've been running quite a fair bit of businesses. Some very successful, some not so successful. But what I'm trying to say here is that at the end of the day, it's actually something that everybody can always try to run that business and all this. But fundamentally, running a business is never easy, to be honest. And it can also be challenging if you were to start the business on your own before you have any partners or co-founders whatsoever. But what makes it a bit more challenging can be backgrounds that you don't really have, that probably can equip you to sell. So selling is actually a skill set. Some people say that some are born with it, some are not born with it. Personally, I came from an engineer. I was an engineer. I studied a material engineer, and then subsequently I went on to be a business development engineer. Okay. For those who are old enough, if you remember PAM PDA, Personal Digital Assistant, PAM PDA. So I was very much involved with PAM PDA in the early 2000. Yeah, some of you, I'm not quite sure whether you born already. Okay, year 2000. So I was actually already involved very much with the PAM PDA, where as an engineer and as a business development engineer, I actually see things from both sides, meaning that I see potentially for the devices, for the accessories, for the hardware, okay, that we have to design, we have to produce, we have to manufacture. Where are the markets? And then we work together with our counterpart in the US. Okay, so as a business development, that means we actually not only looking at the opportunity, but also to create opportunity. And then at the same time, with my engineering background, it helps me quite a fair bit. So I didn't really start off as a salesperson, which is why the journey to learn was actually quite tough. If you remember, in the early 2000s, we probably don't have any of these platform like startupstorm.asia. We don't have platform like startupvillage.asia or even like YouTube or whatever. Okay, there wasn't any much content that actually teach you on how to be a salesperson. So a lot of these are all learned on your own. That means as an engineer, you have to figure out how to sell. So initially, I make a mistake of thinking that you have to go through a school, where they teach you how to be a salesperson. And then over time, I realized that actually selling means practicing. You need to practice a lot. If you don't practice, okay, I think the sales skill can actually probably not attainable. Okay, so what I mean is that if you want to be a salesperson, I think the first and foremost is that you have to be confident enough. And this is where a lot of us are not very strong in. And sometimes even I myself give myself an excuse saying that, hey, you know what? I'm actually an engineering background. So, and I tend to see engineering background and sales are two different planets, okay, worlds apart. So I think the first thing that to sell, you actually have to have confidence first. Confident in the sense that you must believe in yourself, that you can actually make mistakes. You can actually go out to make mistakes as a selling. Because later on, as I so-called learned along the way, I started my own startup. Okay, during that time, we don't really call it startup, we just call it the business. That was in around 2005. I started, then I realized that the engineering background actually helps me because I can talk about function and feature. So we developed mobile security software. Okay, so when we developed the mobile security software, I realized that selling function and feature may be good, but the other party who make the decision to buy your software, to bundle your software, are probably not a technical guy, are probably a sales guy, are probably a marketing guy, are probably a non-technical guy. That means they like your function and features of your apps, okay, but what they are saying is that, how can I make money out of it? So that's where over time, I realized that sales is something that has to be acquired, just like if you're eating durian, okay, drinking wine. A lot of these are what we call acquired taste. And over the years, I try to learn on how to be a bit more confident. And then, once you be a bit more confident on yourself, I believe that I can actually sell a bit more. So I start to push the envelope a bit ahead. So over time, and I realized that, once you build the confidence, it is actually much easier for you to know exactly how to sell. Sometimes it can be selling a technical product. Sometimes it can be selling a product. Sometimes it can be selling a dream. Sometimes it can be selling a vision. So today, in the next 50 minutes, which is why I just want to be very open about it. And, everybody face some fear, because after you build up the confidence, the next thing that you need to do is like, how do you really sell? I think then this is the part that you need a lot of practice. Nobody sells overnight. Nobody know how to do it overnight. But I think one thing for sure is that you have to be consistent, meaning that the moment you want to go through this journey, you have to start practicing and then start to make mistakes. Because without making mistakes, it is actually going to be very challenging. Because one of the things that I found, now as an investor, now as a serial entrepreneur, I realize a lot of people, if you don't take the first step, you will probably always get stuck in the in the same locations. And when that happens, it makes it very, very difficult for you to actually move on. Okay, so that's enough about the introduction that I make about myself. So I'm just going to open to the floor. Any questions on the AMA? Please feel free. You can, for those who just joined, you can type it out in the chat box of questions, or you can always switch on your audio. Preferably only the audio, not the video, because as I mentioned, we do have some folks that are from Philippines, from Hong Kong, from Taiwan. And as you probably know, they got hit by the typhoon. So internet may be very slow for their side. Okay, just go ahead and ask me any questions, if you have. Thank you very much. Okay, let me try to, okay, okay. What metric should I track for, okay, based on the chat box, I think you guys can actually take a look at. The question is what metrics should I track for sales success? Okay, so here's a very interesting thing. Okay, let me just close up the chat. Because I'm actually using a tablet. So tablet tend to be a bit challenging. Okay, got to switch on here and there. Okay, I think first and foremost, a lot of people always ask, when we talk about matrix, I think for different companies, it means different things. Okay. So first and foremost, when we talk about what metrics should I track for sales success? Okay, so now imagine, this is my personal experience. When we talk about sales, when we talk about matrices, I think first and foremost, what is a success? How do you define success to you? Okay, so I just deep dive into this. When a lot of people talk about matrices, sales success. Okay, for some companies or for some individuals, when we talk about selling, okay, selling a product maybe by quantity, maybe by volume, okay, maybe by profit margin, maybe by time to deliver. Okay, then itself will be considered as a matrix. Okay, and then that will be actually the gauge. So when that is the gauge by itself, then probably that will be the matrix. Because one thing for sure is that a lot of us have to understand, when we talk about matrices, it's very difficult to apply to anyone. Okay, for me, it's like when I track sales success, okay, if you're a new startup, I think the first sales matrix that you will, the first matrix that you may want to track, I think is first and foremost, is that it may not be in volume. It may not be in large quantity, but it should be something as a journey, okay, to grow our product. My take is it may actually be something of a matrix where how the first, okay, group of products or the first batch of products are being sold. Okay, so that then you can track who are the one who buy it, where did they buy it from, why do they buy it from, basically all your W's, what, where, when, why, how. Okay, so basically that to me is that I will want to know on that matrix why. It may not be a huge number, but if I were to know that if this is so-called person 1 or person A or person B, when they buy from me, where did they heard it from? How come they buy from me? Okay, if you're talking about friends and relatives, I think you can ignore that. That is not a real matrix. But you're talking about real customers who actually genuinely buy the product because they like the products. So I will use that matrix to actually track, because when I track the matrix, then I would probably deep dive in inside. Is this kind of customers that I have been doing a lot of promotions, a lot of marketing, online, offline, above the line, below the line? Is this what I actually want? If this is the customers that I'm actually targeting, that means to me it's a success. Why? Because I did a few things together, and then it resulted in conversion. And that is probably a matrix that I want to track. Okay, so this is for companies that are just started. So now, what happens if you're already running a company for the longest time? Then the matrix that you want to check can be when you roll out a new product. Let's say in a certain forecast, you're rolling a new product, let's say in a market of Singapore. Okay, you're pricing it at say $50. So then you want to target a certain groups of user, a certain groups of customer space. Okay, so when that happens, does it mean that the people who actually buy these products is the audience that you want, is the target that you want? If it is, then congratulations. That means that whatever that you forecast, whatever that you predicted, it works. But what happens if you were to roll out the products? You're actually targeting group A, maybe of a certain income, maybe of a certain gender, maybe of a certain race, okay, or maybe they stay in a certain locations, locality, and a whole bunch of this. But somehow you targeted this group, but in the end, you realize that the people who purchase this are actually not totally different. So then, do I call it a success? Okay, I will still call it a success. Why? Because I rolled this out on this product, and somehow it didn't reach the target audience that I wanted. But it came out with a new batch of customers, then I may actually see this, instead of a bad news, I actually see this as a good news. And I still call it a sales success. The reason is actually very simple. Then I will take it as, that means whatever that I calculated, okay, this may not be the right group, but the second group may actually be the right group, right target audience. So do I make a judgment call that I should target them? Answer is no. Okay, because now I got two groups like A/B testing. Now I got two groups of potential clientele that one, I targeted, but they did not buy. Second group, I did not target them, but they are actually buying. So then I will do a comparison. So from this comparison, then I will find out exactly, is it something that I did right or is it something that I did wrong? So if this is the case, should I actually carve out a certain budget to target this group of people? Or why this group of people is actually buying from me, and is it coming from these activities that I've done? So again, matrix itself, I'm not going by the textbook, because honestly, if you go by the textbook, a lot of people will tell you, hey, you can look at the conversion rate, you can look at your customer's lifetime value, your sales pipeline velocity. Yeah, nothing wrong. Okay, but this is based on textbook. But if you are a startup, a young startup, you may not have enough information to make a decision immediately. But however, if you are a company that has already been running for a while, and as I mentioned earlier, you launch a new product. If that is a new product, that means that you're not a new company. You're launching a new product. So then you can actually use the past history and then to confirm, hey, is this actually, am I on the right track? So this can actually be considered as a sales success. Okay. Next one. I'm looking to get better at sales. Okay. What tools and tech should I use to improve my skill set? Okay. I think okay, I like the he. Okay, so here's what I'm looking at. When we are talking about getting better at sales, okay, what tools and tech should I use to improve my skills? I think the first and foremost, most importantly, is that who are your target audience? Okay, I've been drawing back the first question. Who are your target audience? Because a lot of people these days, okay, nothing wrong with that. Some of us get too fixated with the latest tools. Okay, some of us get too fixated on the latest tool, meaning that, for example, hey, you know what? Now there's a lot of AI tools. Should I actually jump onto the AI tools to generate sales leads? Should I actually jump onto this to use a certain tools, or a certain tech to help me to improve my skill set? Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it, but sometimes certain information doesn't surface out from using any internet tools, or doesn't surface out from using any software tools or whatsoever. Okay, it's not that it's wrong, but what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, sales is always about meeting the right target audience. Okay, as much as we can use AI, I'm nothing against AI, but as much as we can use a lot of tools and everything that can be collected from the internet, can be collected from user behavior, retargeting, all the matrices or whatsoever, like I mentioned on the question number one. Okay, all this information comes in. Okay, it can probably give you a conclusion. Let's say, for example, you're using ChatGPT or whatsoever. They can give you a conclusions, but conclusions being conclusions, okay, suggestion being suggestion. At the end of the day, nothing beats going down to the ground to talk to people. Okay, what happens if your target audience are actually not in the same place as you? They are overseas. Okay, they are far away. They are selling virtual. Okay, so my take here is that okay, use simple tools like a Zoom. a WhatsApp call. Find out who exactly are the kind of customers that you're targeting. Arrange a survey, arrange a call. If you can do a face-to-face, okay, but minimally, you should actually target them to have a virtual call. Talk to them, ask them, hey, you know what? I'm actually rolling out. What do you think? Okay, it can be a simple tool like a Zoom. It can be a simple tool like an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, ask them questions. They give you feedback, and you don't even have to get them to type. They can actually just use a WhatsApp, click record, send you a voice note, gather all these informations. Okay, when you gather informations, okay, when it comes to sales, it's always about interactions. It's never one way. Okay, if you want to improve or get better at sales, my take here is always first, once you are very confident on what to do, how to do, talk to them, because you will be very surprised. A lot of time we thought that the customers actually want certain things, only to realize that, you know what, this is actually not what they want. Because a lot of startups, I'm using startups as an example, they did a lot of cost analysis, they did a lot of a lot of things, nothing wrong, but nothing beats going down to the on the ground and actually talk to the customers. Because when you talk to the customers, you get a lot of feedback. Then this is where you filter into three types. One, feedback that you can actually make changes now. But when you make any changes to the products or to the services, will they actually buy? Because we always have feedback coming from different types of people who give you the feedback for the sake of giving you feedback. But they themselves may not necessarily be the one to buy. Okay, then the second group of people is that when you talk to them, they may not give you feedback. Because why? You are unknown to them. And why should they actually bother? Because to them, it's like they never thought of even buying something like that. Then is this a correct group or is this not a correct group? You still can collect some information from that. Why? Maybe you're talking to some decision makers and you know that these decision makers are probably not the one that you can sell to because you thought that they are the buyer. But in the end, you realize that, maybe my product actually doesn't have to go up to the level. Maybe I can just go to the purchaser. Maybe I can just go down to the ground and then from there I build it up. That can be another one. Or the third type is someone that you talk to, but they are not the one who buy, but they may be the one to refer you that they know, hey, you know what, your products or services is interesting. I'm not the right target audience, but I do know someone may actually want to buy. And then that is where you actually do a lot of collections of the data. Okay, and then from there you prove. Let me just add on, for example, okay, I know there are a lot of questions coming up. So for example, during the COVID period, okay, is an example that I like to use. During the COVID period, a lot of people were selling online. Okay, they're trying to target online, trying to sell a lot of e-commerce products through the e-commerce. And so we did a training. And I told them, I said, based on demographic, okay, if let's say using Singapore as an example, look at the numbers of population. Look at the race, okay, of the population. In Singapore, majority of them are Chinese. Then followed by your Malay, your Indians, and then other races and everything. So naturally, if you are selling a product, does it necessarily mean that you have to sell to the largest group? Or does it matter that you actually have to sell to the group that actually wants to buy? What happens if it happens to be the largest group, but it's also the same group of people who want to buy from you? Because you can have a few overlay. So how do you reach out to those guys? You talk to them. Okay, so in the end, there was this company that we advised. In the end, we zoom it down into Chinese working moms with credit cards. That was actually the persona. So what do I mean by Chinese working moms with credit card? Because they were selling online, and then we know that most of the time, the one who's actually going to buy something healthy, nutritious for their family, especially the sandwich generation, where you want to buy healthy products for the older folks, you want to buy healthy products for the kids. So somehow, somewhere, Chinese working moms, okay, why Chinese? Because of population is larger. Working moms, they are like you and I, work from home during that time, and they have credit cards. So they are the one who decide, hey, how nutritious do I want? What kind of food do I want? So in the end, we advise them, target the Chinese working moms with credit cards. So when that is the case, then naturally, your marketing, your sales can actually pipe towards that. Okay, let me give you another example. So sometime back, a couple of years ago, there was this dog food manufacturer. So they wanted to come into Singapore to sell dog food. So my first few questions to them was like, okay, who do you want to sell to? So to them, it's like, okay, I want to sell to any pet owner. Sure, nothing wrong. Then I was like, they were asking, hey, can you do survey for us? How many pet owner, how many dogs, how many cats, how many this and that? I said, sure. I said, at the end of the day, what are you trying to do? are you trying to sell it to them one time, or are you trying to sell a lifestyle? Because if you're trying to sell a lifestyle, it is never about a pack of food. Okay, if you're trying to sell a lifestyle, then you probably have to target a certain groups of people. Why? Okay, example, if your products between selling to the cats, not selling to cats, selling to the owners who feed the cats or selling to the owners who feed the dog, then you may probably have to look at how many dogs owners are there, how many cats owners are there. Of course, there are also those who actually have both. Then you have to look at the population that we have in Singapore, using Singapore as an example. How many people actually stays in HDB, public housing? And what are the, okay, Singaporeans are pretty law-abiding. How many dogs and cats are we allowed to keep in a household, in a public house? So this information can actually help you to analyze it. And then after that, then you can find out who they are and then start to engage them. How to find them? They're usually in a forum or Facebook groups or whatsoever. Talk to them, get them to do a survey and then answer to them. So you'll be surprised. These are some of the information that can actually help you to get better. Okay. Okay. Next one. What are the most common mistakes new sales people make, and how can they avoid it? Okay, very, very good question. Pretty broad. Okay, I think the most common mistakes that we always make is that we will assume that this is what the customers want. Okay, adding on to question 2 and question 1, we will always assume that this is what the customers want. Don't be surprised. Sometimes customers may not even know what they want. Okay, and if you're given a choice, if you were to sit down and try to sell it to a customers who knows what they want, I think that's a very simple sales. Meaning that the customers know exactly what they want. They come to you, no question asked, because function, features, how to use, the pricing, everything, they already educated themselves. They self-educated themselves, and then they just come to you and then they just buy from you. Okay, but I think the most common mistake is that we think this is what the customers want, and then therefore we work in a certain direction, and therefore we work into a certain behavior that no, it is better that if I want to sell them this particular product, if I want to sell them this particular services, I should behave in a certain way. Okay, example. Let me give you an example. So sometime back, there was this insurance agent. It is a friend, so we were chatting about it. She was complaining. She said that for them is that they have to when you sell insurance. I'm not quite sure about other places, but for them when you sell insurance, what they do is that a few agents will combine together, rent a booth, and then they will put the booth underneath on the office building. Okay, and then they put up the standee, and hopefully everyone who pass by will sit down and then run it through with them to try to sell insurance policy. Okay, so lots of reason given. The reason is that a lot of people just started their business, just started their job. They have some disposable income. They are willing to buy insurance. So that was all the assumption. Okay, again, nothing wrong with that. My first question to them is that if you can think like that, every insurance agent will probably think the same, because the entry barrier is actually very low. All you need to do is just rent a booth, pay a couple of $100 of share among the few agents, stand there. Anyone who walk past, you give them a brochure, and hopefully when you give enough brochure, okay, it will actually allow them, okay, to sit down or probably spend the next 5-10 minutes to listen to you. So my question is, you're assuming that this is what a lot of people will want. But I ask, most of the offices, especially in the CBD area, Central Business District, most of the people, even though they may have 60 to 90 minutes lunchtime, 120 minutes, there are some, but I think that's a crime. Okay, that's really too long. So if you are given 60 to 90 minutes, let me ask you, how many of them will actually bother to sit down and to listen to your pitch? I think it won't happen. It will never happen. Why? Because 60 to 90 minutes, they are probably spending half of it walking, half of it queuing up, half of it eating, and then walk back. Okay, even if they have some time, they may probably not listen to you. Okay, so my friend was asking, but we have been doing this, and it has been there's some success rate. I said, sure. I said, nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you continue to sell it this way, you can still make sales. But why not you try to optimize the time? That means what you need to do here is that everyone who walk past, engage them, but don't engage them to pitch to them, to tell them that you need insurance, whatever. Find a hook, okay, that get them to see a brochure, to see a leaflet whatsoever, get them to scan, Okay, I'll get them. Okay, during that time, the QR code, pandemic hasn't come yet, so QR code is not as popular. So I told them, give them a hook that in such manner that they can actually see something, don't throw it away, give them slightly a more premium brochure or leaflet, whatever, or give them some questions that become a hook that let them get themselves interested. Because right, almost everyone who has work in office will probably have a computer. And trust me, not everybody work all full 8 hours. So give them a hook that they can actually use their own computer in their own office to go online and search and make sure that they actually land onto your page. Okay, that means you create a page, land onto your page, provide your contact number, provide your email address, and most importantly is give them a very simple form for them to fill up. And then you can arrange to have a call with them or to have some form of follow-ups later. Then in this case, they can do it at their own time, they can read on their own time. Okay, and then you provide a hook. Then once you provide a hook for them, if they're interested, they come to you. So first, it saves you a lot of time. Second, you're actually getting companies or you're getting individuals who are interested to self-filter. Because if they are not keen, you just walk past them, forget it. They are not your target audience. So what's the point of pushing for them, you say? So, okay, so that's one of the few answers to a question. Wow, okay, that's quite a lot of the question I didn't expect. Okay, when do you switch your strategy from revenue focus to margin focus? Oh, okay. Good question. Okay. When do you switch your strategy from revenue focus to margin focus? Okay, so here's a question. A question to a question. What does revenue focus means to you, and what does margin focus means to you? Because you see, when we talk about revenue versus when we talk about, I won't go into the math lah. When we talk about revenue focus versus the margin focus, margin can fluctuate up and down, similarly to revenue. Sometimes when you deploy a certain strategy, your strategy may be actually to test the market, to find out, is this selling or is this not selling? If let's say if it's a selling, okay, then the next question that you want to ask is, how do I ensure that it actually sells more? Okay, I mean, this is what a typical salesman will always think, right? I sell one piece, how do I sell the second piece? How do I sell the third piece? How do I sell the fourth pieces? So if I want to sell one pieces of item, I get this revenue, I get this margin. If I were to sell second pieces and they are not related to the first pieces, that means if I sell this, I make 30% margin. I sell the second, I make 30% margin. But what happens if I were to try to see, this is where I generate revenue and margin. But if I want to sell more, can I actually sell it more, but not to the second person, a new person? Because if I've already convinced the person, number one, person A, to buy this from me, can I actually add the second product in? That means the second product don't have to be the same as the product one. It can be product one, product two, or it can be product one, product one. If it's a product one and product two, if I combine together, okay, can I actually make lesser profit? But my effort is actually selling to one person. So if I'm selling to one person versus spending another cycle to sell to the second person and convince, why not I target to sell the first person, okay, and I sell two products. I may make lesser, okay, but from a resource point of view, I'm actually targeting the same person. So similarly, should I spend my effort to target one person to sell, or should I target a group to sell? So that's why group buying is popular. Okay, no matter whatever said and done, even like Groupon, a whole bunch of this, group buying, it always works. Why? Because some folks are very confident to sell and say, okay, instead of you buy one piece, if you get the second piece, you get a third piece, you can get more discount. I think even like in Singapore, you tend to see quite a lot like glasses, okay, spectacles. So a lot of them like to do that. Buy first pair, buy second pair, 50% discount. To be honest, how many pair of glasses do we really need? But the thing is that the hook here is there is a 50%. So now if you talk about revenue versus margin, when do you switch? Okay, the thing here is that at the end of the day, what is the end goal that you're trying to do? Are you trying to sell more products, okay, that goes volume? Or are you trying to sell one product with a higher margin or higher profit? So when you talk about how to switch, it can actually depend on if you are targeting a certain groups of people, you're running a certain promotion, make sure that the whole promotion duration is fixed. Because if it's not fixed, the last thing that you want to do is day one, you promote. You start talking about, hey, I'm giving some discount, I'm giving buy one, get one free, whatever. Then the person who actually saw it is interested. But because you give it a duration of maybe 7 days, What happens if on the 7 days, the person then come in? You don't switch just before 7 days. Oh, this is not selling. I just cancel it, close it down, and then I switch my strategy. No, you should not. You can actually offer one promotion, okay, or one strategy. Then you can actually overlay on it. Okay, so this is the part that you actually can just play around. At the end of the day, the customers who comes in to buy, okay, is he going to be a one-time customer or is he going to be a return customers? So when you have flip it over to the other side, if what they want is that they should see it as value for money. Okay, some customers like it because of its value for money, but some customers, by the way, value for money doesn't mean that it has to be cheap. Okay, it has to be something that they feel that it's actually so much worth that I buy from you, okay, versus I buy from another product or versus buying from another person. So that can be one way of switching over. Okay. Yeah, good evening. Okay, good evening. On building a good sales team for a B2B SaaS product, why do you find them and how do you train them? Oh, okay. Okay, so there are actually two parts of the answer. This is actually from Brian. Okay, on building a good sales team for a B2B SaaS product, where do you find them and how do you train them? Okay. First and foremost, we have to understand what is a SaaS product, software as a service. Okay, first and foremost, software as a service, the nature of a software as a service is never fixed. Okay, when I said the nature of the software, okay, or SaaS, is that SaaS always evolve. That means today I may be coming in to sign up a SaaS. Okay, let's say for example, pick up Microsoft Team, a whole bunch of all the SaaS. When you have a bunch of services that comes with it, a bunch of features, a bunch of functions that comes with it, and the SaaS, this is how it behaves. That means someone who come in, they come in and buy at this price, but over time you add more feature in and it's free. Or over time you actually add more others that you need them to require them to do a top up. I think if you're talking about building a good sales team, first and foremost, okay, I answer how to find them. I talk about how do you train them. I think the mindset of someone who comes in to try to sell to B2B, they have to understand that it has to be very versatile. Okay, it has to be very versatile because you won't be surprised if today I talk about, hey, you know what, SaaS of this can allow you to do 10 things. But compared to maybe someone who actually purchased it 6 months ago, they may actually pay the same price, but they may have only 5 functions, 5 features. And over time, you keep having add-on, keep having features. Like example, like Microsoft Team. Okay, one of the biggest things that I really hate about Microsoft Team when it first launched is that any video I upload and everything, okay, and over time, my messages gets more and more. And all this video actually, and then very, very quickly, my 1 terabyte will be used up almost in a very short period of time. But like now, they have this feature, okay, or function, whatever you call it, where unless you save it, if it's not save it, over a period of time, they will automatically remove it. I think this is a huge time saving for me. And because of this, okay, I really like it. Why? Because I can do as much video as I can and then do a video call, record everything. And then over time, it can actually automatically delete. Because if it's important enough, I will save. If it's not important enough, I'll probably leave it there for others to download, to refer to it. And then automatically it will be deducted. Okay, so now, how do you train them? First and foremost, you have to train those folks that the evolutions, okay, or the evolve of these SaaS is actually not fixed. So they must be versatile enough to be able to know how to sell. Because if you do not sell and you just sell it as a product that is a fixed standard functions, these are not good sales guys. You must actually have a salesperson to be able to build a relationship. Why? Because a lot of SaaS, okay, a lot of them, what they do is that they sell it to you once and then they push you down to go look to learn it yourself. That means you go and learn the video. They have all the workshops, recorded videos. Then you go and pick it up yourself. Honestly, most people who are on the SaaS platform, they really, really don't have the kind of time to sit down there and run through all your videos to find out exactly what they need, how to do. So I think if you really want to train them, first and foremost, you must train them to see from the user point of view, not from a seller point of view. Because the user point of view, a perfect SaaS, that I see is that there's a bot, an AI tool. I can actually just type a question. I say, how do I do this? How do I do that? That means we are not talking about help. Okay, we are talking about help is still help is kind of stupid sometimes. Okay, you type it certain keywords that you did not put in, they doesn't give you exactly what you want. Then you have to try and error. So I'd rather do it in a way that is actually a human language that I can type it out and then straight away I can actually push it up. Okay, so now how do you find them? Okay, first and foremost, how do you find them? It actually has to go down into your business model. If you are looking at someone to sell, okay, virtually, not physically, because of SaaS solutions, SaaS itself, there's still a lot of people who actually arrange meetings, physical meetings, stand there, sit there, and then actually run the whole demo. If your kind of business is actually not that type, but it's virtual, my take here is that hire someone and you outsource it over. Don't hire full-time. You can hire full-time, there's probably project managers or managers. But because you need volume, hire as many salesperson as you can, virtual assistant, those type. Okay, get them to make a call, get them to arrange, get them to do a demo. I think that's actually much easier because SaaS simply means that not everyone has the time to sit down unless you're talking about a decision maker who can buy 50 licenses from you. That means then it's different. But if you're SaaS, okay, because when we're talking about B2B, B2B usually falls on two things. Number one decision maker can decide for all the different licenses. Okay, but this is the type of people that you want to get your assistant to find out who they are so that you can actually engage them. The other type, when we talk about B2B, it can be targeted at startups or targeted at SMB, where they don't buy a lot because typically their size are not large, maybe 5, 10, 20 people. Okay, so you can also have the same group of people targeting them. So for that, you actually start off so that your cost is low, but you give a high commission. Okay, because ultimately, people who use SaaS, okay, they are very comfortable, okay, to get virtual support. And this is where AI tools should come in to help you to build all the questions that actually been asked and then start to train the system. Once you train the system, getting better and better, then your service level agreements, your the way you sell, the way you upsell can actually be much better for you to make the next sales. How can I effectively differentiate my products or service in a crowded market? Okay. Okay. Last two questions, is it? But anyway, any more questions, please feel free to type. Okay. How can I effectively differentiate my product or service in a crowded market? Okay, I give you a bit more practical thing. First and foremost, if it's a crowded market, let's define what is crowded. Okay, so we can define it in a certain way that I always like to use your W's and your H. Okay, why is it crowded? Okay, where is it crowded? When is it crowded? Okay, basically all your W's and how is it crowded? Okay, let me answer that why. Because first and foremost, if it's a crowded market, that means your differentiations are maybe limited. Okay, definitely will be limited because whatever that you think of, someone will probably try it out. And when people are desperate, okay, in a crowded market, they may actually throw price. They may even give you free, give you 30 days trial whatsoever. Okay, what is a typical 30 days trial as a business strategy? Okay, nothing wrong. But when it's crowded, you may end up having too many choices, and then it actually confuses the potential clientele. Potential clientele may not be able to see one product versus the other product when it's crowded. Okay, so now, first and foremost, why do you, if you already know it's crowded, why do you want to enter? Maybe for whatever reason that you had already entered. Okay, I'm not saying that if you have a choice, then you don't enter into a crowded market. Because right, if you cannot really differentiate, what is going to kill you will be if it's a SaaS, okay, probably not a SaaS. If your products, whatever, if you're talking about something that you have control of, okay, example, selling white t-shirt. Okay, white t-shirt, right? T-shirt is a super crowded market. Okay, if you can think of, you just Google it, almost anyone is selling t-shirts. Okay, so let's say you are selling a t-shirt, okay, and the t-shirt is not produced by you. You simply buy from a manufacturer, and then you bring it over, and then you start to sell. Okay, not wrong. Okay, but here's the thing. If you just want to sell a white t-shirts versus the other fellow who sell white t-shirts, usually you can only differentiate by a few things. Better customer service, exchange, no question asked, half the price or whatsoever. Or maybe my cotton is better, my material is better. my packaging is better, or probably low cost, or probably premium cost whatsoever. So first and foremost, you have to understand if you're talking about a crowded market, okay, where does the crowded market sit on? If the crowded market is because, okay, people who buy from you are of the same category. Example, let's say t-shirt, white t-shirt. Okay, I can tell you honestly, if you're selling white t-shirts, majority of the people who will buy are all your startup founders. Okay, they will buy a lot of white t-shirts, then print their own logos, or not white, maybe the blue color, red color, whatsoever. Majority of that are that, or maybe doing company's game day, okay, or maybe doing some tasks, excursions, and then they will buy. But the problem is that, do they buy in volume? Do they buy in huge quantity? So now, if you are talking about how to differentiate yourself, as I mentioned, price is probably one of those. Okay, but then again, everybody does that. Okay, better products, your better qualities, your higher margins. That can be one of the way of differentiating yourself. But again, as I said, if you already enter into a crowded market, and if the market is going to get crowded, then my take here is that you have to innovate already. Okay, so what do I mean by innovate? Example, if you're buying a piece of t-shirt and selling a piece of t-shirt, nothing special. How about if you do a collaboration? Your collaborations can be an up-and-coming artist, up-and-coming designer. When we talk about up-and-coming, it actually has to go in with your marketing, how you got a position. It may probably be someone that's totally unknown, but you do know that when they have a pen, when they have a marker, they have a paint, whatever, they can actually do magic on the t-shirt that nobody can do better. That can be a kind of collaboration that you partner together and then you sell. That can be one way of differentiating. That means you make it something that's very common, something that's very simple, but you add the uniqueness so that you actually increase your unique value propositions. So you increase it. So that can be one way of selling something that is in a crowded market. Okay, how do you differentiate between a trend versus the ad hoc event on selling strategy of your competitors? Okay, this is from Darius. Okay, yeah, no wonder Darius asked this kind of question. Okay, let me repeat again. How do you differentiate between a trend versus an ad hoc event on selling strategy of your competitors? Okay, honestly, a lot of trial and error. I'll be honest with you, because there's actually no fixed rule as that. Okay, if it's a trend, when will the trend start and when will the trend end? I think this is something that none of us can actually predict it. I mean, it would be great if you can predict it, but it's almost quite difficult because something that started off suddenly, it becomes pop, it goes up. Okay, let me give you an example using t-shirt as an example. Probably a lot of people may know Singaporean guys or guys in Singapore are well known to be the Uniqlo gang. Uniqlo. I'm actually wearing a polo tee from Uniqlo. Okay, when did this trend start? Actually, nobody knows. Okay, so for example, it seems like suddenly overnight, all the Singaporean men decided to buy oversized t-shirt or polo t-shirt, especially black color. Suddenly, because of whatever reason, overnight everybody buy the same thing, and then suddenly you see everyone wearing the same. Okay, for whatever reason. Okay, the problem here is that between a trend, how do we actually know when it starts, and we do not know. So when you talk about how to differentiate, I think first and foremost, if you're coming from a strategy point of view, it should not be linear. Okay, if you're planning your strategy, if you're planning a strategy or how to outsell your competitors or even predict the next big thing, I think it's actually quite difficult. Okay, but I do believe, okay, it works if you start doing a lot of preparation, meaning that, okay, just imagine you got a box of ideas, some ideas, put it into the box. This box of ideas will come up with one, two, three things that you can build on. Okay. During your downtime, you prepare that one, two, three things into a box of ideas, put it one side. Box of ideas, put it one side, put it one side, put it one side. Using whatever experience or knowledge you try to do a prediction that this may happen, that may happen. Okay. If that is the case, hey, you know what? Putting all this, at least you do a bit of preparation, you do a bit of homework, and eventually if you're, I don't always recommend people to jump on the trend. Well, I mean, of course, unless you are like in fashion or even technology, like AI, now everybody's hot about AI, but we know the differentiations already start coming in. Okay, not everybody is talking about generative AI. Not everybody is talking about generating an image. Now I talk about text to video now. And then what will happen after text to video? Probably another new thing will come up. Okay, text to AR video, text to VR video, that kind of stuff. But what I will always do is that put all these boxes together. We're not talking about physical boxes. It can always be a folder that you have brainstorming. So that's why innovative is important. By training the staff, training yourself, okay, training your employees, training your co-founders. Spend some time, sit down, always brainstorm what may happen, what kind of impact may come over to us. Sometimes you can actually see the future. Okay, sometimes you can actually see the future. Okay, let me explain a bit more. Sometimes you can actually see the future before you even arrive into your shore. So you can actually have some leeway. Okay, so to find, okay, I may be able to actually produce or maybe actually able to design certain things so that in such manner that should the trend comes in or should an ad hoc event pop up, your strategy can actually surround on something that you have already built on. Then you enhance it, then you wrap it around, then you make it faster, make it better. Okay, let me give you another example. Okay, so let's say for example, okay, today everybody is talking about AI tools. Okay, so here's the thing. If you're someone who's actually adopted AI tools, that means let's say you're already someone who's using ChatGPT, you pay your $20, blah, 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 you're doing a lot of this. So question here is that you may actually be the one to adopt and you started using, but that doesn't mean that your client is actually on the same level as you. Okay, there's a very high chance your clients are actually far behind you. Okay, why? Because you yourself, you adapt yourself, you adopt yourself, and this is your rice bowl. Okay, this is your business. So it is naturally for you to understand, to know more, to train yourself more. So you have reached that level that you're actually knowledgeable enough to recommend, knowledgeable enough to sell. So when that happens, then you have to look at it. Certain thing that to you is a trend that started a while ago and it may be dying. But if you put it into a linear, your customers may have no understanding of AI tools. Why? Because it is not their job to understand AI tool as much as your job to understand AI tool as a business. Their job, if their job is actually to do trading, if their job is to do logistics, they may probably see no use and they will probably not even adapt or even adopt it. So if that is the case, then to you, it may be a trend that's moving forward, but to them, it's just life goes on. So you may be able to put it all on top of each other and say, I can actually provide you a service. I can actually train you. I can actually get your people equipped with it. So that is actually a hybrid of a trend, but versus an event that you can actually overlay onto each other. So when that happens, you got a win-win. Okay. Let me know if you have any opinions on this. Okay. Because honestly, it's not easy to understand to answer this question also. Okay. Yeah, I think this is the last question. Oh wow, coming tonight. Okay. Hi, Paddy. I'm selling new and novel IoT technology B2B. What do you recommend? Recommended strategies for cold calling companies that are based overseas? Okay, this one is actually quite straightforward. Because under Blackstone Consulting, where I'm actually one of the managing partner together with my group CEO, Jesslyn Day, we actually have this quite a lot. So what do we do? Let me roll it back. We always have companies from overseas that plans to enter into Southeast Asia. So Taiwan is actually one of the largest number of companies coming over. So for example, a lot of them may have a certain technology that they want to bring overseas, that they want to sell to overseas. Okay, but if you're talking about my recommended strategy for cold calling, okay, first and foremost, I'll be honest. I'll be brutally honest. If you are doing cold calling like anyone else, there's a very, very high chance the percentage of you getting the right person and then to get the right response and then to get them onto a virtual call for you to do a demo is almost to zero. Okay, I know it sounds very brutal. Okay, why? Because if you have to go into cold calling, the percentage by itself is already very limited. Okay, I'm not saying low, but it's limited. Because trying to target the right person to make the right decisions or even to target the right person to bring your idea to the team, okay, and then to discuss and then come back to you. Three things need to happen. Number one, what you offer is something really unique. Okay, that someone local cannot offer it or cannot be there to show it to them. This is number one. Okay, number two, it must probably be something that they already have something in mind, but they are searching, whether is it urgently searching it high and low, or probably they are just, hey, I may probably need this tool, and then your cold call comes in. Okay, then that is probably very, very coincident where all your stars are aligned. Okay, or the third, which I personally prefer, is that instead of you going to them, get them to come to you. Okay, why? Because it is actually quite difficult for a seller to get the buyer, because you are trying to have one seller talking to multiple potential buyers. The resources that you have is pretty limited. You probably have only 24 hours. You can spend another 10, 20, 30 minutes to talk to one potential buyer, 10, 20, 30 minutes to talk. The problem is that when you try to talk to all these guys, okay, as I mentioned, it's limited. So when you try to do all this, it makes it very difficult for you because your percentage, maybe if you increase, it's only increase by a very small percentage. So what we always do from Blackstone Consulting is that we will create stories, meaning that before they even arrive into the market. So assuming you're talking about overseas, let's say using an example of Taiwan, trying to sell to someone in Singapore. Three things that you always have to take note. Number one, Singapore, how do the buyer buy? This you have to find out. Because a buyer who wants to buy your products or your service, first and foremost, can you actually fulfill their needs? So what are their needs? You have to identify all this. You can assume, like the question one, question two there, you can always do a big assumptions and then identify, is this the kind of customers that you want to target? Because if you cannot narrow down, your cold calling will not work. Okay, and I also don't encourage really cold calling because you're talking about IoT. People like to touch and feel and test it and demo. Okay, so it's actually quite difficult. So you will probably need to create a demand. So like the first one that I mentioned, okay, first and foremost, if you can identify who are the customers, what are they, which industry and everything, that would be great. Okay, that would be great. Okay, this is one. Number two, how to get to this group of customers. So let's say, for example, you want to sell it to a government agency in the context of Singapore. If you want to sell it to a government agency, the government agency will probably not buy from you at all because you are overseas and there's probably no support. This means that in between, before you start selling, you will probably need to identify there should be a distributor, there should be a system integrator, there should be a partner in between that can represent you to engage them. Okay, so this means you probably have to do your cold calling, not to your end customers, but cold calling to your distributor, your potential distributor. But before you even target the potential distributors are always selling. So they are probably don't have the kind of time to sit down and to identify what are the new products that are coming into the markets. So that's why when I say I prefer to turn it around, it means that you have to brand yourself. So here's the thing. Number one, number two, number three, I will prefer to do the third method. Third method is that when you brand yourself, okay, when you talk about branding yourself, means that you actually showcase your demos, get yourself to be interviewed, get yourself to be if possible, try to be the subject matters guru. Okay, if you can position it, because it's better to play in your own turf. Okay, let's say, for example, Rachel in Taiwan, right? Okay, this is your ID. So I assume that you're in Taiwan. So if you're in Taiwan itself, then I will probably, the first thing I will do is that I'll probably get myself into the media, articles, okay, probably get myself interview, put myself into panel discussion, okay, whether I position myself in such a way that I am actually the guru of this particular segment. It can be, but I'm the guru. But because once I have a certain level of endorsement, okay, certain level of usage, certain level of case studies, I can build up. When I build it up, when I target, okay, any people that I want to talk to, I can tell them, guys, I actually know what am I doing. If you know what you are doing, people who want to buy from you are probably a bit more confident. Okay, except the government. I'll explain why. Your distributors will probably be more comfortable that you already have some case studies that you already run in your own country, in your own turf. Okay, then you can actually position yourself, guys, we are very innovative, we've been doing this, and now we are entering into Southeast Asia. Now we're entering into Singapore, we're entering into Malaysia, Thai market. So when you do that, it shows that I'm actually already done a lot of case studies, a lot of traction, everything. I got I got the mileage to show. Now I'm entering into this market. So when you enter into a market, you create a demand. You let people know that I already have done all this. My pricing structure is correct because why? If I were to ship it out, let's say FOB, okay, FOB out from Taiwan to Singapore or to Malaysia, is there any free trade agreement? Is there any tax? Then if I land in Singapore now the tax is GST is 9%. So how do I take into consideration? And then if I were to get a distributors, okay, first and foremost, if I want to sell to a particular clientele, if it's a government agency, then the government agency will probably not be buying from you because there's no support. Okay, then distributors may probably have to be whitelisted in the first place. If the distributor is not even whitelisted to sell to a government bodies, then this is probably not the kind of distributors that you want to target. But if you want to sell it to an MNC, a listed company, example, then this listed company will probably have to go through a due diligence. So if you're trying to sell it directly to them, you probably don't qualify because you're not even based there. Support maintenance doesn't work. So if you go through a distributor or go through a partner, make sure that this partner may preferably already selling something to them. So if they're selling something to them, then you just latch on and then you sell. That makes the whole entire process much easier. So I'm not saying cold calling is wrong, but my thing here is that if you're going to sell into someone in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, there should always be some way for you to get the distributors or for you to get someone who may be interested to talk to you. How? LinkedIn. Okay, my easiest, simplest way is you position yourself in LinkedIn first as the group. It may take a while, but you start to position yourself as a guru. But once you position yourself as the guru, people start talking, coming to you. Then you look at their background. Okay, then you go back to them. And then you start talking into their posts, in their posts. So you start to build a community or they start to get people to, oh wow, hey, this lady or this guy actually knows their stuff, And then when you start doing that, there's some interaction and you don't have to take too long. When you start doing all the interaction and everything, then you can post, hey, I'm looking for a partner in Singapore that is in these particular verticals. I'm actually looking for partners in Malaysia or in Thailand. Or how do I sell? Because when you start to ask these kind of questions, but people see that you are a guru, you're an expert, people don't mind reaching out and say, hey, you know what? I know someone who may be of good use, okay, to give you some information. And that good use may be able to do recommendations. Okay, but of course, it will take a bit of time, but it's better than doing a cold calling. So once you build that kind of momentum, be fair. People who help you, give them a referral fee. Cut them a commission. Why? It may not be a lot. Okay, it may just be they doing it out of goodwill, but a help is a help. Because when they actually cut down your whole entire cycle. So instead of spending 2-3 months or 1-2 weeks trying to figure things out, getting someone to help. And LinkedIn is actually pretty, I would say it's a hostile place, but LinkedIn, how should I say? Members love smart people. Let's put it this way. So if you are a smarter one and you're able to outshine others, people like to be associated, like it or not. But this is where you can actually learn a lot of knowledge because almost anybody who are in LinkedIn is basically to post something, to show the world, hey, I've done this, I've done that. So when you're able to engage and align, you may actually be able to put yourself in a better position instead of selling, get people to come to you. Oh, okay. Bye, lady. Okay. There are many marketing companies who promise to sell for your product at a very reasonable price. What do you think of that? Okay. Good question. Here's the thing. There are always people trying to market for you. Okay, but question here is that what are you selling? Oh, this is Moses. Oh, okay. Okay. So Moses is my mentee. Okay. So there are many companies, marketing companies who promise to sell for your products. So first and foremost, let's define marketing company. When we are talking about marketing company, everything will say, I know what your company does. So it probably be a B2B. So when we are talking about a marketing company, are we talking about a B2B where they actually generate leads for you, sales leads, or they're actually marketing and positioning you? Because a marketing company is not supposed to sell your product. Okay. A marketing company is supposed to market your product to get, or at least to create a bridge or to help you to reach out, okay, to a potential groups of potential customers, maybe in the future, maybe now. But they are definitely not the selling. They are probably the one who opens the door, okay, already did a lot of analysis, did a lot of trial and error, and figure out that, okay, I know your solutions. Example, in the case of Moses, you are probably trying to sell your solutions to factories, to manufacturers, that are people that are looking into carbon credits, or maybe into vehicle transportations, logistic company. So in this case, a marketing company may actually not be suitable, okay, if it is just more for branding purposes. Okay, a marketing company may probably be more suitable, okay, just to let people know, hey, FYI, we have this company coming here. We are putting them into a panel. Okay, I'm creating an opportunity for you to go into an association, talk to the people, sell to the people, and then to sell yourself. That means I create the platform, I create an opportunity for you to go down there. Okay, nothing wrong with that, but here's the thing: selling is probably not the KPI. So I think what you need to do is that you have to be very, very sure that exactly what you want, not so much as what they sell. If what you want from them is to sell your products, then you probably don't want to talk to a marketing company. Because a marketing company, their role is marketing. But if you want to sell your products, then I rather take it as you should probably target distributors, you should probably target channels. And as I mentioned earlier, the couple of questions above, you may actually want to target those that could have already whitelisted, okay, to the companies that you're selling to. Example, okay, like industrial park. They could have already have a bunch of approver, vendor, the approved vendor list or approval vendor list. Okay, you could probably be. So instead of you trying to sell it over to them, you may actually want to get, if it's a marketing company, okay, to market yourself, your solutions, everything, to this group of vendors. That is just marketing. But at the end of the day, if the vendors, okay, who already got approved in the whitelisting, okay, they still have to believe in the product. So if they believe in the product, then good. Then this is where the discussions is between you and the vendor. Nothing to do with marketing company. Okay. Okay. I think there's a Ken. Okay. What activities do you suggest to do for product pre-launch and during launch and after launch? Well, your one question quite difficult to answer. Okay. What activities do you suggest to do for product pre-launch and during launch and after launch? I think this is actually to answer it in the simple form is funnering. Okay, funnering. FUNNER, ING. The activities that you should do should first and foremost, before any product pre-launch, you may want to cast the net out wider. Okay, let me give you an example. Kickstarter, Indiegogo. Okay, but anyway, if you guys really want to know a bit more, you can always reach out to this guy called Darius, Darius. If you can't find him here, you can always see him. He's one of our experts in startupstorm.asia. He's one of the experts. You can actually ask him from there. But let me give you an overview on the sales. Okay, basically, it's how to sell, right? This is AMA. I think the first thing that you need to look at is funnering. If you're using like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, using that as an example, what they always like to do is that before the product is being launched, they actually publish themselves out. So you will probably see them in a lot, okay, of apps. They run a lot of advertisement. They are relatable to the target audience. Okay, for example, I back a lot of gadgets. So if you go to any of Kickstarters, not just gadgets, there are also many other products. They got books, they got music, they got games, a whole bunch. But for me, I like gadgets. So if I were to go to website like TechCrunch, okay, or follow some Twitter, okay, I will tend to see a lot more advertisement on the gadgets related. So if you want to do a pre-launch, my take here is that identify who are the kind of people that will be very interested, okay, of your products. Okay, you probably want to define. Okay, maybe, for example, it can be people in the West, people in the East, at what time. And then after that, you lead them before you even launch a product, you lead them to understand more about your product. In the case of Indiegogo or Kickstarter, most people will want to know more, not just the product function features, but they want to know the brains behind it. Okay, so if it's a pre-launch of a certain product, and it is your own product, let's say you manufacture or you design and you're very proud of it, you may want to give others a glimpse, okay, of what the product is about. That's why you see a lot of folks like Samsung, Apple, Sometimes certain informations are leaked out. Okay. Sometimes certain information are leaked out purposely. Okay. I'm not saying any brands. Okay. Or some folks in there, actually, they see the products, they leak out the photos. So it creates lots of interest. It creates a lot of things that people want to know more. So that can be some form of a pre-launch. Okay. You create interest. You get people who want to know more. That means I get them to feel, hey, I want to know more. I'm curious to know more. Okay. So when that happens, if you're able to collect a certain data, that means they can actually register themselves on the email, they can register themselves on the WhatsApp whatsoever. Okay, then from there, you can even set up a unique group, meaning that sneak preview. Okay, at least for people like me who are on the gadget side, we love to have a sneak peek. Okay, so some of the brands, they like to give sneak peek to a certain group of hardcore fans, okay, hardcore supporter. So when that happens, you let them have a sneak peek. Once they have a certain sneak peek, just like any movie, before they even launch it, they always have a different cast group. Then they always give you a bit of sneak peek here and there, just a trailer. So once you have that ready, okay, then you know that these are probably what we know as, it can be your KOL or your influencer, that you hope that they can actually share more information. So some are paid, some are free. Okay, so you hope that they can actually generate a lot of interest. So when that happens, when your launch comes in, okay, let's say you launch in a certain time, like for example, recently Samsung just launched Fold 6, Flip 6. Okay, and even their Samsung, smart ring. So when that happens, even before they actually launch, you can see that there are already a lot of photos, videos that got leaked up, or even brochure and leaflet. I mean, some say that it's purposely, some say it's not. I don't know. But when that happens, it creates a frenzy. So now, let's say, for example, you can just go to Samsung.com, go in, scroll a bit, click your Flip 6 or Fold 6 or whatever. Then after that, then you go to Facebook. Or then if you happen to go to Instagram whatsoever, trust me, the advertisement will start popping up for you already. Okay, so that can be something that you already launched, and then after launch, there's actually a follow-up. So that can be some of the activities, basically fundering. But I think the most hard work is actually the pre-launch, not so much on the launch. I'm not saying that launch is not important. It is just as important, but the pre-launch will actually help you to do fundering. Because when you do a pre-launch and you got a high interest, it means that you have a large number of people, okay, to play around with the numbers. Because if you have a large group, then by the time you funnel down, because not everybody will buy and not everybody will be interested, because sometimes they see the function feature, or maybe like, for example, like Flip 6 and Fold 6. So a lot of people got very interested, but the moment they saw the price, they were like, what? 2,000 plus Sing dollar? Okay. I mean, there's it's more expensive than a laptop, more expensive than a tablet. And it's probably 1/5 of the size. And then people are like, oh no, I'm not interested. So that's why your pre-launch is actually important to get a huge number. And then probably down the road, you can do funding down. Thanks for posting the link of Darius. Okay. It's 9:10 already. Okay. So I'm almost done. Any other last question before we wrap up for the day? If you have, please feel free. Then I'll take the last question, and then before I call it. Any last question? Please feel free to type it onto the chat box. 有吗？没有。Okay. So if you do have any last question, or you probably you think that you have a better answer, I mean, please feel free, because honestly, we are all learning here. You can scroll up the chat box. You can always post a question in startupvillage.asia. As much as I know, I will try to answer. If it's not, I think there are many other more experienced folks than me. So then they can come in. Oh, there's a last question. Should you have an account manager, or it's a risk that they may run away with your client? Okay. To be honest, I think NDA that a lot of company practice. This is the last question. A lot of company practice, signing NDA, non-disclosure agreements with any of the employees to come in. Then you cannot, they cannot reveal certain confidential information. I think, to be honest, or even you prevent companies, you prevent individuals to start their own company to run exactly. Honestly, it's a shitty feeling. if you're someone that you have hired, and then especially those who work for you for very long, they went through the ups and downs, and then in the end they come out and start their own business, and then to steal your client. There's always a certain risk because it's not just about your account manager. I think in business there's always a risk element. I don't really have an answer that should you have an account manager, but I can tell you, if you don't have, what will happen? You will probably work yourself to death. Okay, why? Just imagine. I could assume that, let's say you are running your own business, you're a boss. Even if you don't sleep, don't eat, okay, at most you only have 24 hours, and you can probably last 1-2 days. Okay, props to you if you can last 1 week without doing all this. But my thing here is that if you have the money, if you hire someone and you buy the someone 8 hours, okay, we don't talk about startups. Startups are crazy. A lot of us work very, very long hours. If you buy the person's 8 hours by a salary, okay, let's say you pay X dollar. So you're buying, assuming, okay, 40 hours or 44 hours a week. Okay, that's one person. If you buy 2 person, times 2. 3 person, times 3. So you're talking about 44 hours, 44 hours, 44. Of course, we don't talk about, not everybody work full 8 hours. Okay, so because we are all human, we need to rest, we need to take a break. This is naturally. But one thing I do agree that I always believe is that if you don't empower someone and you don't pay someone, you probably only stuck with your own 24 hours. But if you have someone and you hire that someone, the time that you have, the exposure that you have to more sales, more engagement, more customers support, more servicing, you probably increase by 44 hours. Okay, so now account manager simply means I could take that your account manager is the one who face fronting your clientele. You, one person, you are not able to meet all your clients. Okay, sometimes when we reach a certain level, or hopefully you reach a certain level, where you can actually sit down and have a cup of coffee with your client, okay, while your account manager continue to serve your client's project manager. Okay, are you spending time to have a cup of coffee with the client as a waste of time? Answer is no. You can always sit down and engage the clientele to know what's going to happen down the road. Okay, you sit down, have a cup of coffee. Even you sit down and have a cup of coffee for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, the value that you're able to extract is probably definitely more than what an account manager that you hired for, okay, can extract out. Why? Because I'm not belittling the account manager. Account manager that you hired is to engage to service the account. So when we are talking about service account, means that it can be a day-to-day operation, it can be a week-to-week, month-to-month operation whatsoever. Okay, so you want someone to be able to be an extension of you to serve. But just imagine you don't have any account manager and you're running on your own. You're probably very busy serving the clients, but not enough time to sit down to have a cup of tea with the client or with the decision maker to know what they may need later, what they may need in the future. So that opportunity cost versus hiring someone versus the risk of that person taking your client away, okay, then you probably have to weigh. Okay, so now, will it happen with someone who take your client away? Answer is yes. There's always, no matter how you want to do the NDA whatsoever, or even the fair or unfair for some, that he or she cannot go join another company. I think there's a lot of case recently. Okay, so the question here is that if it's a client who will just go over like that, then the question here is that, is there even a loyalty? What is it, a transactional relationship? That means, is it that this person who go over, it doesn't mean that clients who go over to your account manager who leave you is a bad client. It may actually be you did not service them enough. You did not even spend time to understand their needs. Okay, so when that happens, then you really have to assess, is it actually a management problem? Okay, because we ourselves, we are also figuring things out. Sometimes when we are running business, it doesn't mean that just because you are the boss or you know everything, it doesn't work this way. Because there's a lot of things that we are learning. So my take here is that look at what happens if you don't have an account manager. Okay, I could say that the risk and the benefit you need to strike a balance. Personally, I would say I'd rather have an account manager and has a potential of they taking away my client, because they taking away my client hasn't happened yet. You have an account manager today, you need to talk about ethics. You need to talk about, that means monkey see, monkey do, right? So you need to talk about that. So but can you stop it? Honestly, you can't. So my take here is, yes, I'd rather have an account manager and manage, okay, on the risk side, rather than no account manager and risk the whole entire business. Okay, so at the end of the day, it's really, I mean, I can only share, but at the end of the day, it's really up to everyone, to make up your mind what is best for you. Okay, so it comes to an end.